Hi, I'm Sayojita. Today's dish is a dessert. I haven't made a dessert for you all for a very long time. And next weekend is a long weekend. We are celebrating India's Independence Day and the festival of Vara Mahalakshmi. So what better time than now to make a dessert? I'm making Basundi today. Sweetened evaporated milk. And I must tell you that this description does no justice to it at all. Those of you who have eaten and loved Basundi will agree with me wholeheartedly. And those of you who have not yet tasted Basundi will concur after you watch this video and made Basundi yourself. Basundi is a popular sweet from Gujarat and Maharashtra, and as is the case with most of the desserts from the region, it is served as part of a festive meal, along with puris in this case, Basundi's favorite companion. The process of making Basundi is quite simple. Just 3 ingredients: milk, sugar and cardamom, and a fourth if you include the nuts as garnish. However, it's quite time consuming to prepare, especially in large quantities, and there are a few things to be aware of in the process of evaporating that milk. That's what I'm here for. With my tips and tricks, you will be making perfect Basundi in no time at all. Well then, let's head to the kitchen. I'm going to start by reducing 1 liter of milk and then we will go on from there. A wide shallow pan will allow the milk to reduce faster than a narrow deep pot. Tip number 1, use a wide shallow saucepan to reduce the milk. Next, we're going to coat this pan with water. This will prevent the milk from sticking to the pan, therefore reducing the chances of burning and facilitating cleanup. Tip number 2, apply water on the surface and sides of the saucepan to prevent milk from sticking. It's going to be on the flame for quite a long time, so we do need to do these things. For now, I'm going to keep the heat high, then we will reduce it as needed later. My milk is cold, it came out of the refrigerator, so it's going to take a couple of minutes longer than if your milk was room temperature. This ladle is going to be our friend. It's going to prevent the milk from boiling over. Tip number 3, a metal ladle or spoon placed in the milk will prevent it from boiling over. The milk is boiling furiously now, and I'm going to lower the heat to medium. I'm not going to lift the pan for obvious reasons, but I can slide it over for you to get a peek at the flame. And the milk is not spilling over because of our ladle. Flame was high, so it should have spilled over, but the ladle is keeping it in the pan. This milk has to be reduced by about 1/4. And the cream that's going to be formed must be stirred back into the milk. This is the difference between rabdi, which is another Indian dessert made by evaporating milk, and Basundi. I'm going to put some pictures here for you. For rabdi, the surface cream is skimmed off the milk and placed on the side of the pan to form a crust. This crust is served over the evaporated milk when you are served rabdi. Now the milk needs monitoring and stirring from time to time. Basically, we have to let it reduce all on its own. The ladle will be hot, so be careful. And I think it's best to do some activity in and around the kitchen so we can monitor it. You don't want to leave it completely and go off somewhere. It's been 20 minutes and it has reduced considerably, but the color you can see is still quite white. Now I'm going to increase the heat because I think that there is enough water in it still and it's not going to burn, so I'm just going to watch it and accelerate the process. If you keep the heat very low, it's going to take an inordinately long time to reduce. Now you can see the level of the milk. It has gone quite low. As you go along, scrape off any of the cream from the ladle and the sides and keep mixing it back in. As you can tell, the progress is rapid now. I'm just giving you the time as a reference so you know and you're prepared for how long it will take. But specifically, your time will depend on your milk, your stove, how wide your pot is, etc. I'm using a gas stove, that's what I have. But you can make Basundi on an electric or induction stove, even though it is harder to control the heat on these. The reaction time is a little slow. Initially, you just keep it on high until it starts bubbling. Then before it's too late, you have to reduce it to medium. Again, let it reduce, and as it gets down to less than half, I would say just keep it on a lower flame and monitor it from there. The advantage of a gas stove, of course, is that you can lower and increase the heat at will instantaneously. While you're watching the milk reduce, I thought I can talk to you about where we go from after this and what options you have. I will pipe in and out of here just to show you anything specific that might be happening with the milk. So just bear with me. I hope it doesn't get too confusing. I'll make sure it doesn't. Let's talk about where we are. So firstly, 1 liter of milk, which is 4 cups, is going to give us about a quarter liter, which is 1 cup of the reduced milk. And that will make Basundi to serve maybe 3 people typically, but maybe it serves 4, maybe it serves 2, all depends on the capacity of the people involved. So there are a few choices. Suppose you want to make Basundi now for just 3 or 4 people, you would start with 1 or 1.25 liter, whatever, 4 or 5 cups, and do as we are doing, reduce the milk. It does take about 45 to 50 minutes to bring the milk down to the consistency that we want. And then Basundi itself takes about 15 minutes. So you have to keep that in mind. You can just do it all in one step. Or if you want, you can just evaporate the milk beforehand and make the Basundi the next day, or whenever you need to make it. The reduced milk does keep quite well. So that's one option, which is just to continue from where we are going. But what if you want to make a Basundi for, let's take the example of 12 people, we would need to reduce 4 liters of milk. And if you put it all at once, it's going to take a long time to do that. So what do we do? Now, Basundi is not a dessert where you just decide on the spur of the moment that I'm going to have Basundi tonight. No, usually it's for a special occasion, so you have decided your menu 2-3 days in advance, and so you know that you are going to serve so many people and this much Basundi has to be made. In that case, you can break it up into batches depending on the size of pot you have and the number of burners you have. So suppose, I think the 1 liter pan is quite manageable, so you would have to do it in 4 batches of 1 liter each. And if you have 4 burners and 4 such pans, you can do it all at once. Or since you know 2-3 days beforehand, you can start reducing your milk from 2 days, 4 days beforehand. It refrigerates really well because there is not too much water left in it. And we're not going to make the Basundi that early. The Basundi is going to be made fresh on the day. It's only going to take you about 20 minutes. It will be that those 16 cups are going to be down to 4 cups, which is 1 liter, which is kind of going to fit in the pan we have now. 15-20 minutes is all you will need to make Basundi from that milk. And that you can do on the day of your party or festival or whatever it is. So I'm just going to quickly hop over to the milk in full and let's see what's happening over there, because there's something I have to tell you with what is going on there. I think the milk is pretty much reduced as much as we would like. Just a few more minutes left. And now you definitely should stand there and stir it. And since I'm going to do that, I can increase the heat as well. And back will come to the discourse. If you're just one person or two and you want to have Basundi once in a while, we're not making it for any guests, it's just for yourself. What you can do is, whenever you have the time, just evaporate maybe a liter of milk while you're cooking your other food or over the weekend, and portion it into say four of a quarter cup. And then whenever you feel like eating basundi, just take it out of the refrigerator or the freezer and add some sugar and sprinkle some cardamom and simmer it for 5 minutes, and voila, you will have basundi. So that's the other option if you want to have small portions whenever you feel like. I'm using a tri-ply stainless steel pan which retains the heat for a long time after it's turned off. So I'm going to turn off the heat now, and the milk is still going to simmer for a couple of minutes because of the residual heat in the pan. I've turned it off and I've declared it done. It took about 50 minutes to reduce this. The milk has come a long way, or rather the milk has gone a long way, because we have gone from 4 cups to about 1 cup. And take a look at the before and after pictures of the pan. What I'm going to do is something in between. I have made one batch of 1 liter reduced milk already, and this is one batch right here. And so I'm going to make basundi with basically what is equivalent of 2 liters of milk. But not today, I'm going to serve it tomorrow. So I'm going to keep my milk in the refrigerator today. So I'm just going to put it in a jar and keep it in the refrigerator. Let's proceed from there and see how we make basundi from that reduced milk. My milk has been now cooling for about 10 minutes, and as I mentioned, I'm going to make the basundi tomorrow. So I'm going to just store it in this jar and take it out tomorrow. And make sure to scrape off everything off the pan and the ladle. And you can see the color of the milk is now a little yellowish because it's cow's milk. And it will change further after we add sugar. The sugar will caramelize a bit. Let's check out the pot. You can see hardly nothing has, I have to say nothing has stuck, because I will say it again, because we applied the water at the bottom. Okay, the day to make basundi is here. I'm going to use this kadhai now, and I have wet the surface of the kadhai for much the same reasons. We really do not want anything to stick to it. Now you can see how thick this reduced milk is. I've turned on the heat. And here's our pal from yesterday, the ladle. Though today there isn't as much danger of it overflowing. Mostly we need it to stir. I am using 2 batches, as I said. So it's 2 liters worth of reduced milk, 2 cups of it. And it was in the refrigerator, so it will thin down when we add the sugar and actually as it warms up also. As you may have noticed, when we poured the reduced milk into the kadhai, and even now you can see that, the reduced milk is quite lumpy. And while basundi is grainy, we don't want it to have such big chunks of cream. So we need to whisk it down a bit. I'm going to add sugar to it after it warms up a bit, and cardamom powder later on. Those are the only 2 ingredients really that we need while cooking. I'm going to add the sugar and increase the heat. Mix it in and let it dissolve. I've used regular granular sugar, so it will take a little bit of time. And I think the wire whisk is better to break down those lumps. But ladle works well too. I don't think we want to use a hand blender or put this whole thing in the blender, because we do want it to be a little grainy. If you really like completely smooth basundi, then you can use a hand blender, or you can just put the whole thing into a blender. Coming to a nice boil now. And milk and sugar combination must reduce a bit. It will thicken on cooling. Scrape out any milk residue from the sides. That will burn, so we do want to remove it. And I'm also going to reduce the flame to prevent it from getting stuck on the sides. As the sugar in the basundi caramelizes, it will take on a pinkish hue. You can see the changed color already. My flame is medium. I have to use this big center burner for the camera. If I had a choice, I would use a slightly smaller burner. The basundi is bubbling and reducing nicely now, and I'm going to add the cardamom powder. And that's a wonderful aroma in the air. Simmer it for a minute or two. I'm going to increase the heat to high for just a few seconds and then turn it off. It will continue to simmer in the residual heat of the kadai. And we're done. It's taken us 12 minutes in all to make this. Now let's check out the before and after pics of the basundi. Take off all the bits of cream stuck to the whisk and the sides of the kadai. We don't want to waste any of these. Mix those back into the basundi. Here's a closer look at the texture of the basundi. It's not smooth, it's grainy, just how it's supposed to be. Basundi can be eaten warm or cold. When it is a part of a meal, it is usually served warm. But cold basundi makes a wonderful dessert after a meal. And if you freeze it in molds, you will have kulfi. Here is the basundi at the table along with the puri. I've just garnished it with some pistachios. It has cooled a bit and you can see it has thickened substantially. And then here it is holding pride of place in a festive thali. Well, that's it then for basundi. I hope you found this video useful and will be making basundi at home more often. I have videos on many popular Indian desserts like gulab jamun, gajar halwa, shrikhand, puran poli. Just click on this playlist right here. The link for my Perfect Poori video is in the description box. I'll see you again next week. Thank you for watching.